Hey, gang. Thank you all for checking us out. I am Clay.
And I'm Jay.
And we're here about Music
All right.
Exchange today. We got this guitar in and we can't really shut up about it. We talked about it on the live show. We talked about it on the last update. You got it over there, guy?
I surely do.
We've got us a big, cool Les Paul traditional. So what happened is we saw this guitar, and we know we'd mentioned in the past, I think we'd maybe done some stuff, talked about Les Pauls more than a time or two, really. Did we not do Led Zeppelin?
We have done Led Zeppelin.
We did
surely
a Kiss
have.
one too, right? But really, we thought we'd go a little bit deeper into the actual history of the guitar itself, and maybe some notable mentions. So we got, in the record store, we've actually got a Les Paul and Mary Ford record. And I know some of you eagle-eyed viewers will go, well, that's an SG, that's not a Les Paul. A lot of history and a lot of lore and a lot of legend behind that whole thing. You know, at one point, right when the SG was introduced in '61, it wasn't called the SG, it was called the Les Paul. And I don't think Les Paul was a big fan, right?
No, I don't think he liked the way the horns were cut and what have you. I know some of those SG reissues say Les Paul, but he had them change it, didn't he?
Yeah. He actually withdrew his name from Gibson entirely. And then the guitar was just called SG for solid guitar.
Yep.
And then there for just a short period of time, until about '69, I want to say, there was no Les Paul in the lineup. There wasn't this body style at all. There was no guitar with Les Paul's name on it in the Gibson catalog whatsoever. So kind of interesting, really. Les Paul wanted more of a recording guitar. I don't even think Les Paul himself was even completely crazy about this design. There are varying reports of how much actual content he was able to put into that guitar as far as his input and that sort of thing. So I don't really think he was even totally crazy about this. I know the ones that he played were incredibly modified with lower impedance pickups, tons of extra switching. You'll find that in the Les Paul recording because they come out with something that he wanted to try and woo him back to Gibson in the late '60s, early '70s. So that's why you see the Les Paul recording with all the extra crazy switches and weird sideways pickups and that sort of thing, because they were kind of letting him do the input so they could get back in his good graces and kind of have him back with Gibson guitars.
Exactly. And
So that being said, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say that's just another cool thing about Gibson's history, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's a kind of a long storied history. There are a lot of stories there, really. But going back to this SG, if he already wasn't crazy about this, the SG was out. He was not crazy about the SG.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thinner body.
Yeah, no arch top, the thinner body, just the whole thing was completely in his un-Les Paul, you know. So yeah, and I know there's a newer kind of article floating around now, I think, at least at the time of this filming, about Les Paul, or Leo Fender trying to woo Les Paul.
Yeah.
So,
I just read that the other day, actually.
Crazy.
I did not know that till, this week.
Yeah.
I was reading about
Yeah.
that. Oh, yeah.
Very cool stuff. So this guitar has a ton of really cool storied history. I mean, not this one in particular, obviously. It's got some cool stories too, I'm sure, but, just the Les Paul in general. We found another record back here. Well, we found a box set that was pretty cool. I'll take that off your hands there, Jay, if you want to.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, good sir.
Yeah. Thin Lizzy, right?
Thin Lizzy, man.
There's a lot of Les Paul on Thin Lizzy. I'm not Les Paul in the spirit of Les Paul the man, but there is a ton of Les Paul guitar on Thin Lizzy stuff.
Rock and roll,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, rock and roll, and then you can't even mention Thin Lizzy and a Les Paul Gary Moore, right?
100%.
So, yeah, if you want to, I really wish the record that we just showed you. I really wish we could get away with playing a clip of that or something. I don't know what the rights issues are, but it would be great if you could look up or find or buy some clips from Les Paul and Mary Ford, so you can hear what Les Paul the man sounded like. Very fast-fingered guitar player. Everything was very clean, very clean. I actually think he even played through a Fender amp.
Oh, yeah.
Very clean, very fast, sort of like a jazzier Chet Atkins. They did an album together too.
I would agree with that. Absolutely, I would.
So then the Les Paul, right, it's sort of fallen out of favor there for a little bit. It's, you know, not considered the cool. Like, the reason the 59 is so, like, revered, there aren't a ton of burst 59s around.
Right.
Because they didn't make a lot, because there wasn't a high demand for a lot at the time. So, which probably had something to do with why they switched it over to the SD body style, just to kind of switch it up, cheaper production costs, the whole thing. But to see it evolve from Les Paul playing a Les Paul in the cleanest possible fashion to like raw rock and roll like Thin Lizzy, or just dirty, gnarly, cool blues like Thin Lizzy, you know. You've got, at one point, you know, you've got dueling Les Pauls, like they had to do the coolest dual leads
Absolutely,
ever.
man.
And almost all of that is a Les Paul in some shape or form.
And that was a precursor to your bands like Priest,
Yeah.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anybody that's really, really into Priest and Iron Maiden, I mean, that is their forte, just the same as Thin Lizzy. It's dual leads, and they play off of one another very well. They switch back and forth very well. They play in harmony very well. So the Les Paul just sort of reminded me of that, and I just thought it was really cool.
And that is great. And as you say, that is a huge transition to go from what he did to what it does now and what it became known for.
Yeah.
And kind of the original signature series guitar.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, this is the Les Paul model, right? And it's called the Les Paul, but I mean, I'm sure there were, so, you know, feel free if you know, throw it in the comments, because I'm just as curious to know. But it has to be one of the earliest signature model guitars. I mean, where they actually got the guy to advertise it, you know, like, and everybody and their brother does it nowadays. Every guitar company on earth
Oh, yeah.
has kind of their own, like, Les Paul, you know. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. It and maybe the Strat are
Like-
the two most copied guitars.
Yeah. Well, like, Ibanez, for example, has Steve Vai, and there will forever be a Steve Vai model.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just like there is a Les Paul model. And there's other guitar companies out there, too, that have, like, their own guy who is their go-to artist, who is, like, their flag bearer for that company, you know. So I do think that's really cool. Jay, you got any words on Thin Lizzy or Les
Thin
Paul or
Lizzy,
anything, man?
Cowboy song. Listen to the Cowboy song. Tell us some of your
yeah.
favorite Les Paul guys.
Oh, yeah, in the
Yeah.
comments. Yeah, leave us some of your favorite Les Paul players in the comments below for sure. There are a ton, so I know, you know, we're going to see a few familiars, but if there's somebody, too, that maybe we don't know about or that we haven't heard as much stuff from, I'm always curious to check it out, and I'm sure Jay is, too. So
Absolutely. Give us some under the radar guys.
yeah, for sure. Drop us some Les Paul players in the comments below. Thank you guys a ton. Of course, this is On the Record. I'm Clay.
And I'm Jay.
Thank you guys a ton. Have a good one.